Hey guys, so I have a roundabout way of getting to the point of this particular video, so bear with me, hang in there. I promise I will talk about Moongirl and Devil Dinosaur eventually in this video. I just have a very elaborate way of getting to my point. I promise you that I will get there and I will talk about this show. Just to give you a sense of the structure of this video, first I want to share a personal story with you guys that I promise will connect with the main point, the main topic of this video. Then I'm going to go into the background of Devil Dinosaur and that character's history in the Marvel Universe and why it's so relevant and important. And then finally, I promise you, I will talk about the actual Disney animated series. All right. So first things first. Here we go. When I was in high school, I knew a girl named Lisa Dinney who was very, very similar to Lunella Lafayette, Moongirl. She is an overachiever, super smart. She was the most intelligent person in our entire school. Okay, all the 4 years that she was there, she had the highest GPA, the brightest future, everything. There are two types of overachievers. There's the ones that inspire us, make us wish that we were as organized and as acclaimed and condecorated as they are. And then there are the ones that kind of hoard it over you and make you feel like you're lesser because you don't have you're not quite as together as they are. Lisa was the former. She was very inspirational, very kind, very cool person. But in spite of this, as somebody who was not at her intellectual level, I felt like I had nothing in common with her and would never be able to sustain a conversation with her. So through most of our freshman year, I didn't interact or talk to her outside of the usual casual greetings. Then one day, I arrived in class, and at the school that I went to, we didn't sit at individual desks. We sat at tables. They were like 6, maybe 10 tables in every classroom, and the students would sit around those tables for class, and a good 75% of the assignments that we would receive in class, we would be encouraged to work with one another so we could develop teamwork for the future. That was the experimental reason for us sitting together at tables as opposed to sitting at individual desks. Anyway, so I arrive in class, there are already people sitting there, and I see a spot right next to Lisa at a table that she's sitting at, and I sit down. There are other people at the table, and I jokingly said as I sat down, I'm going to take this seat so some of Lisa's smarts rub off on me. And everybody giggled because everybody knows that she's the brightest. And I sat down, and I would just so happen to be wearing a 90s X-Men shirt when I sat down. And we're waiting for class to begin, and then just suddenly, out of nowhere, Lisa turns to me and says, that's the only cartoon that we watch in my house. I was like, really? This one? X-Men? And she said, yeah, because it's the only one with a black female superhero, meaning Storm. And in that moment, we connected. In that moment sparked a conversation in which suddenly me, somebody who's very knowledgeable about comics, cartoons, and nonsense, was suddenly teaching things to the smartest person at our school. Now, I wish I could tell you that, that conversation alone sparked a very close friendship and that Lisa and I dated and had a very special relationship that was born out of that conversation, but that didn't happen. What did happen was that now we were very friendly and acquainted with one another enough to occasionally have very nice moments together, whether it be talking about comics and cartoons and the silliness that I liked, or me asking her academic questions that I was, and still am, very ignorant about. And every time we just so happened to go to the same dance, we danced with one another. We were that friendly. I didn't even have to ask her. I would just come up to her and I would just hold out my hand and we would go and dance, or vice versa. And all of that was born out of that conversation that was sparked by the silly X-Men shirt that I was wearing. So the point that I'm trying to make with this story is as follows. If anybody ever tells you that representation in comics, cartoons, movies, live action TV shows doesn't matter, kindly ask that knuckle dragging, booger eating Neanderthal to take a very long walk off of a very short pier. Because that's bullshit, okay? Representation matters. Shows like Moongirl and Devil Dinosaur, Miss Marvel, Stargirl matter. All these things matter, and they are not new. They existed when I was in high school. They existed before I was in high school, that these characters were being introduced to make this fictional world resemble the real world. That when I walked into that classroom, there was a grand variety of people, different colors, different genders, different sexual orientations, okay? It wasn't all white people. And everyone, including somebody as smart and as practical as Lisa Denny, deserves to have at least one character that they can relate to, that they can see themselves as, even if she's not as passionate as about that type of entertainment as I am and as you probably are. So with that point made, in that moment, after that conversation, I also realized something, that at that time, Storm was the only black female superhero in all of television. All of it. And it kind of blew my mind. And in that moment, throughout my years of reading comics and enjoying the comic book adaptations, I became more passionate and interested about black female superheroes and just how many are there and just how little they are represented in popular media. It's something that always hang in the back of my head, something that I would bring up when I would have conversations with other comic book fans. And I would ask their opinions on that matter. In the mid to late 20-teens, there was suddenly a rise of these characters appearing in popular media. There was a time period where we had Misty Knight on Luke Cage, Thunder and Lightning on Black Lightning, we had Vixen on Legends of Tomorrow, and right there on the horizon, Stargirl was about to premiere, which was going to feature Dr. Midnight. And during that time, I was still a Twitter virgin. I was still very, very new to Twitter. And Cree Summer, who had played a lot of these characters in supporting roles or cameo roles in animation, sent out a tweet saying, "Ask me anything." You know, she's one of the greatest voice actors of all time. I'm a huge fan. Of course I'm going to jump in and throw in a question, not thinking that she's going to answer, but she did. And my question was, had she noticed this resurgence of black female superheroes in media, and how did she feel about it? And she answered, and all she said was that, you know, for many years she was the only one playing characters like this. So it was about damn time that there were others, and that hopefully this will mean that, you know, the next logical step, this will mean that soon we will have a show or a movie where a black female superhero is the titular character. And it is finally here. After all these years, we finally have Moongirl and Devil Dinosaur. Crazy that it took this freaking long with superheroes being the dominant genre in comics since 1938 until now. It took that long for this to happen. It's nuts, but thankfully it did, thanks to Steve Lauder and Lawrence Fishburne, of all people, the great Lawrence Fishburne. It happened. And it's nuts. It's nuts that it took this long, but I'm glad the time finally came. And I'm sure that Lisa probably has kids by now, and I hope their kids are enjoying this show. Uh, but man, what what a long, long journey for this to happen. It's nuts. It's nuts that it took this long. Anyway, so let's get into the background of the story. For those of you who don't know, in the 1950s, superhero comics went out of style. And that combined with Frederick Wertham's crusade against comics led to a lot of comic book publishers going out of business. DC was fine during this time, even though their sales weren't what they used to be before the 50s. They were still kicking ass. They were still selling superhero comics, no problem, as long as they adhered to the comic book code authority. But a lot of other publishers, like I said, went out of business, and Marvel, the way Marvel stayed in business was thanks largely to their horror comics. And because of this time period, Marvel became known for their monsters. No other comic book publisher had monsters that were as cool or as big of a draw as Marvel. This is a tradition that they have maintained all the way until now. Okay, monsters like Shimagoroth, Fin Fang Foom, and so many others still persist. And if you pay attention, every single Marvel superhero team has a monster in it. The Avengers have the Hulk, the Fantastic Four have the Thing, the X-Men have Beast, the Guardians of the Galaxy have Groot, Alpha Flight has Sasquatch. It's part of that Marvel tradition. And throughout the years, one of the most popular Marvel monsters still remains Devil Dinosaur. That was introduced 1978, created by Jack Kirby. At this point in Jack Kirby's career, he was well known for sci-fi. His first big hit, the first big giant runaway hit of his career was Fantastic Four. Yes, Captain America was a hit character, but it wasn't quite the pop culture staple that Fantastic Four became, where Fantastic Four ignited a whole era of comics in the Marvel Silver Age. Captain America was, I think, the third hit character that Marvel ever had, right after Namor and the Human Torch. And again, not trying to take anything away with Captain America, but Captain America went out of style for a while. Fantastic Four has persisted throughout many of the Marvel eras, is what I'm trying to say. Anyway, so because of Fantastic Four, Jack Kirby is primarily known for doing sci-fi stories, or as he so eloquently put it, space stories. So he wanted to do something different. He wanted to do something, in the opposite direction, more prehistoric, survival comic, and he created Moon Boy and Devil Dinosaur, mostly Devil Dinosaur. He was the titular character, believe it or not. There's no canonical reason for Moon Boy to have that name outside of the fact that Jack Kirby based him on Moon Watcher from 2001: A Space Odyssey. First important fact about these characters, they are not from prehistory, they are not from the Jurassic era. They are characters from an alternate dimension, which was so brilliantly named Dinosaur World. Because of comics. Anyway, so they're from this alternate world where dinosaurs still exist, and Moon Boy is this weird, furry, like human-ape hybrid, and the two of who rescued Devil Dinosaur when he was still an egg, and the two bonded. Because dinosaurs have existed longer than they originally did in our era, in our dimension, they have evolved, and Devil Dinosaur is a lot smarter. He is like a very loyal dog, is basically his behavioral pattern. He's not a savage beast. So Moon Boy and Devil Dinosaur have this, kind of human pet relationship, which is one of the main appeals of the character and why so many hardcore comic book fans love Devil Dinosaur so much. So fast forward to the future, Marvel starts rebooting a lot of their old titles as part of their initiative to create characters that are more racially diverse and gender diverse. During this period, Moongirl is created by, hold on, I want to say the names correctly, Brandon Montclair and Amy Reeder. Okay, and once again, just like Jack Kirby wanted to go in a different direction as far as what he was creating to what something new that he wanted to create, as opposed to have Devil Dinosaur exist in this savage world and fight all these threats that are more primal. They put Devil Dinosaur in modern times and have Devil Dinosaur's partner be this super genius who relies on her mind and on her ingenuity as opposed to her survival skills and her physical attributes. The comic does, the Moongirl and Devil Dinosaur does share some continuity with the original comics. Moon Boy sadly dies during one of their adventures, and he makes Devil Dinosaur promise him that he will be avenged. So Devil Dinosaur follows Moon Boy's killers through a portal, ends up in modern times, where he meets Lunella Lafayette, Moongirl, and the two of them end up teaming up. In the comics, an aspect that I didn't think was necessary, in my humble opinion, is that Lunella is an Inhuman, but her superpower, if you can call it that, is her connection, her mental connection with Devil Dinosaur, so she can communicate with him. Honestly, I've never cared for that. I feel that what makes Devil Dinosaur great as a character is that he is smart enough, conscious enough to understand what beings are not his enemy, and befriend them and behave like a loyal, loving pet. And he knows when to be savage and when to be a badass and when to attack. He can discern from the difference between different people. So I don't think their mental link is necessary. So far, it hasn't come up in the cartoon, but I hope it never does, because I don't think it's important for Lunella to be an Inhuman. With that said, I have a personal theory as to why she's an Inhuman. At the time, Marvel Entertainment was heavily pushing the Inhumans on everybody because they were wanting to make them a major franchise, and they wanted to part ways with Fox and because Fox had the X-Men, they wanted to create their own X-Men, which was ridiculous. So not only did we have the Inhumans popping up on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and the Inhumans getting on their own absolutely horrible miniseries, but the characters were pushed on a lot of new creators who were creating new franchises for Marvel, and Moongirl and Devil Dinosaur was one of them. Miss Marvel was another one. Originally, Sana Amanat wanted Kamala Khan to be a mutant, not an Inhuman. The only comic book that Sana Amanat liked growing up throughout the years before she worked for Marvel was X-Men. That was the comic that she liked. That was the one that she related to. She wanted Kamala to be a mutant. But the Inhumans were forced upon her, as I'm sure they were forced upon the creators of Moongirl and Devil Dinosaur, and why the word Inhuman never comes up in the cartoon, because it was never meant to be a part of it. But it's just a theory that I'm pretty sure it's true. Anyway, but it is true about Kamala Khan and the reason why she's a mutant in the live-action show and in the MCU. Anyway, getting to the point. In the comics, Moongirl, she receives her name as a name that her classmates used to make fun of her with. That's the name they used to mock her, Moongirl, which is I get why she would use that as her superhero name, as her alias, because the best way to diffuse a derogatory term is by, turning it on its head and using it and making it apparent that it doesn't bother you. I get that, but if she's trying to maintain a secret identity, which I'm not sure that she has in the comics, if she's trying to maintain a secret identity, it's kind of silly for her to use the name that her classmates know her by. So every bully in her school now knows that Moongirl is Lunella Lafayette, but I'm not entirely sure. I haven't read enough of the comic to know for sure whether she has a secret identity there. She does have it on the show, and she has a whole different reason for calling herself that. Anyway, enough of the background. Let's get into the show. If you are waiting for me to review the show and tell you what I think of the quality of it, I'll cut right to the chase, the very elaborate chase. This show is amazing. Okay, it's charming and lovely and unique and deserves to be watched at least once by every true blue comic book fan. It should be seen at least once, at least one episode, just to say you saw it. Especially if you have a little girl in your life. I think all kids can enjoy it, honestly, because it's a lot of fun and it's very slapstick. I don't think is meant just for little girls, but and that's my opinion. I saw a lot of shows when I was a kid that where the main character was female, and I didn't have a problem with it. And I think this is a show that if I would have seen as a kid, I would have enjoyed as well as I do now. I want to say that this show is a combination of Into the Spider-Verse, DC Superhero Girls, and The Iron Giant. And while it has elements in common with those three pieces of media, it is so unique in its style and the way it looks, the way the show carries itself is it's very specific tone. This goofy, stylized, high concept sci-fi tone that the show has that no other superhero animated show has. The fact that it's so unique makes it so special and so worth your time if you are even a little bit interested in watching it. Of course, the show is immediately under fire because it's being labeled out, oh, this is just a black show, oh, this is just a female show. Again, I cannot emphasize this enough. That is horseshit. There's been so many shows throughout the years, shows for children throughout the years that embrace white culture and have plenty of elements from that particular race in them, and they're never criticized just because this show occasionally, it's not even the main element in the show, occasionally has references towards black culture and the way black people live. Just because it has that added flavor doesn't mean that it's aimed just at that particular group of people. That is ridiculous, okay? If you watch an entire episode and you don't get the message, you don't see the humor, you don't see the amazing action sequences, you don't see the incredible relationship between Moongirl and Devil Dinosaur, all you see is the one reference to the one thing that we as narrow-minded outsiders view as, oh, that is only related to black culture. No, it's human culture, all right? Just human culture that you are not familiar with. That's all it is, okay? So how about you shut up, watch, and fucking learn something about a culture that is not your own. And maybe you can adapt some of that to your knowledge and be more understanding, okay? Whew. Anyway, so I cannot compliment the cast enough. Just one big star after the other. Gary Anthony Williams, Alfre Woodard. Of course, Lawrence Fishburne is not just the producer of the show. He also does at least one voice. I think it's just one voice as opposed to separate characters. He is the narrator on the show, but then later it's revealed that he is the Beyonder, which is the first uh, Marvel character outside of the Moongirl comics to appear on the show. Um, which is pretty damn exciting. I think the last time I saw the Beyonder, feel free to correct me, the last time I saw the Beyonder in animated form was in the 90s Spider-Man cartoon, so it's been a while. Of course, he's a terrific voice actor. He's done, he's voiced a Silver Surfer in the second Fantastic Four movie. He voiced Thrax, I believe was the name of the character in Osmosis Jones. Great voiceover actor. It's an honor to have him lend his voice on top of giving us this great show. But the top props go to the main stars of the show, Diamond White as Lunella Lafayette, and the great Fred Tatasciore as Devil Dinosaur, who has many Marvel monsters under his belt. He's played The Thing, he's played Beast, and of course he's best known as the definitive voice of the Hulk. And now he's Devil Dinosaur. He's playing a character who doesn't speak, but has to emote through sounds, which is 10 times more impressive than your standard VO job. Anyway, but enough about him. Let's talk about the main star of the show, the person who carries the show on her shoulders, Diamond White. Oh my god. So Lunella in the comics is 9 years old. In the show, she's 13. Okay, she's supposed to be the super genius, 13-year-old super genius, the smartest person in the Marvel Universe. And when Diamond plays her, she doesn't really do that much of a different voice. It's most of it, she changes her pitch a little bit. It's not that much of a voice. It's just a performance. This is a grown woman playing a 13-year-old girl, and it works. And like I said, it's mostly performance-based. She's not transforming her voice into the voice of a child. Which goes to show that voiceover is mostly about acting as opposed to doing voices, okay? It's a performance. There are multiple actors that have this incredible skill. Phil Lamar, when he plays Virgil Hawkins, it's not much of a voice. Yeah, he changes his pitch, but it's a performance, and you believe that he is a teenage boy. Same thing with Jason Ritter as Dipper Pines on Gravity Falls. He doesn't really change his voice much, I suppose, other than giving his voice cracking every other sentence. It's a performance. He gives you the excitement, the awkwardness of a little boy. And this is the same thing that Diamond White is doing. She's giving you the hyperactive, fast-talking energy of a child, even though she's a grown woman. And so impressed by her. She has a few voiceover credits. I don't think she's ever played the titular character in any animated production. But man, does she carry it so well. And so much of the show is placed on her shoulders, and she is handling it magnificently. I cannot give her enough credit. She's created a character that is very, very easy to love. That before this, we had no idea what Lunella sounded like. Everybody had a different perception of what this character sounded like. And she gave the character this level of innocence and confidence and she made it believable enough that in spite of the show's hyper reality, we believe in this character. We 100% relate to her, or we know somebody like her in the way that I knew Lisa, and we're 100% behind her. I heard some naysayers question as to why this little girl can suddenly have fighting skills and, fight crime on her own. I like to remind you, one, she has a 2-ton dinosaur backing her up, and 2, she's from the Lower East Side. The girl's gonna know how to take care of herself, okay? Let's get that clear right now. And in a show that has a dinosaur that behaves like a dog, and time travel and magic are real, and she can uh, tear a hole through the fabric of space with a machine that she made out of spare parts in a secret basement in her house. People complaining about the logistics of it can shut the hell up. Okay. So, in conclusion, I cannot recommend this show enough. There you go. Feel free to voice your opinion in the comment section below. As per usual, my only request is to be civil with one another. It costs you nothing to be kind. I believe that everybody can voice their opinion without being belligerent. Okay? We're all on the same team. Anyway, so on my Patreon page right now, I have a brand new video for you guys to watch, a double feature, something that you guys have been begging me to talk about for months now, the Marvel Holiday Specials. That's right, I will be talking about Werewolf by Night and the Guardians Holiday Special on my Patreon page. If you want to check out that video, but you're not a patron, all you have to do is go to patreon.com/E-Rant and pledge $1. That's it. $1. And you get bonus videos, and at the same time, you're helping me continuing to do what I do. You can pledge more if you want to, but you're not obligated. Thank you so much for your ongoing support, because the fact of the matter is that I could not do what I do without you.